Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I was just given the cue that we can go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everybody. My name is Hayim Mizrachi with CORFAC International in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am an office product type practitioner. I'd like to be remembered this morning as the guy you ask questions about for Las Vegas real estate, Las Vegas Golden Knights, Las Vegas restaurants, and now the Las Vegas Raiders, who are undefeated. Thank you very much, Jonathan. The first thing I need to do is ask everyone to go ahead and mute yourselves. By now, you're all Zoom pros, so you know the etiquette of muting yourself unless it's time to talk. And it's my privilege this morning to introduce Ian with 10X. 10X is our session sponsor. Ian, go ahead, take a few minutes. Tell us all about your platform.
Thank you, Hayim. Good morning to those on the West Coast and good afternoon for those on the East Coast. My name is Ian Grusd. I'm a senior director with 10X. We are the market leaders in live bid auctions. We are a wholesale platform. Every property requires a listing broker. And prior to me joining 10X 4 years ago, I was in brokerage advisory for 25 years. So I have a really good sense of what works on our platform. And my goal always is to help brokers make more money and save time. What does 10X deliver? It's an expedited process. We're live to market within 10 days of signing an agreement, a marketing agreement with your client, 45 to 50 days of marketing, 2 days live bid event. We have a winning bidder, and 30 days to close is our standard terms. We have strict guidelines. It's an as is, where is transaction. And we will help facilitate that by coordinating due diligence in advance. We'll pay the upfront cost of a phase one and engineering report. There's no marketing costs or fees to the broker or seller. We're purely paid via a buyer's premium. So we'll help keep more money in your pocket and get great exposure for properties. Many of you focus on leasing, I understand that, and you represent landlords. And I'd really encourage you to explore if they have any plans to sell their properties in 2021. We definitely can provide the resources to help you win the sale opportunity, as opposed to you doing all the heavy lifting, filling the vacancy, increasing NOI, and then watching a capital market broker swoop in to get to handle the sale. During COVID, we've sold 289 properties, totaling $772 million in volume. Average deal size is between 2.5 to 3 million. 10X is open for business, and I really appreciate the opportunity to partner with CORFAC. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you for being the sponsor this morning. I thought I'd start out with a little story. In the fall of 2007, I had a brilliant idea. I was going to enter into a career of commercial real estate. Over the next 5 years, I rode the market straight down to the pits of hell. In my most dire moments, I was a next gen, asking if this was a viable career choice. It's pretty bad. In 2009, I was introduced to a giant broker, a true market leader out of Toronto. His name is Tom McCormick. He was in Las Vegas for a convention visiting a family friend. Tom spent 3 hours with me in a living room, sharing an enormous amount of career advice. One thing he shared that stuck with me vividly, Tom said, "A good idea doesn't care where it came from." This morning, the session title is Next Gen Idea Exchange, Strategies for Success in Today's CRE Market. Our panelists range in years of experience and area of focus. They are going to exchange ideas with you, their best ideas around sourcing new business, how to prospect, what technology they're finding is the most productive, marketing that's working, where you can be focusing on your own self-improvement. And there's a couple of panelists you'll see who have been through not just one cycle, but multiple cycles, and they'll share their best advice with you as well. At the end, Tyler, the Next Gen Committee Chair, will be facilitating the Q&A. So go ahead right now and locate that chat feature. That's where you want to enter your questions as we go, and we'll make sure to address them as best we can before we end today. So without further ado, let's get the next slide up. Get a good look at your panelists this morning. We'll go around the horn, starting with Brody. Go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, the company you're with, your market location, your area of expertise, and how would you like to be remembered this morning?
Yeah, thanks, Hayim, and thanks for everybody being on this call. My name is Brody Cohen. I'm with Capacity Commercial Group based in Portland, Oregon. I personally specialize in industrial flex leasing and sales, and I would like to be known as the go-to guy for all industrial flex leasing and sales in the beautiful Pacific Northwest.
Very good. Gabriel, how about you?
Yes, my name is Gabriel Galliot. I'm from TRI Commercial out of the San Francisco and Oakland office. I specialize in investment multifamily properties. I would like to be remembered as the investment guy in the West Coast. I have a lot of owners that are looking for better return in other areas, so that's why CORFAC matters the best to me. So if you're a retail broker that has some listings with multifamily up top, definitely give me a call, and I might have some investors here coming out of California looking to other places around the U.S.
Gabriel, how many years in the business are you?
I've been in the business for 7 years. I decided to major in real estate in 2006, kind of similar to your story. So licensed 2013, but been in real estate since 2006.
And let me back up, Brody. How many years are you in the business?
Yeah, I've been in the business for 2 years.
2 years. Let's keep going. Scott, 2 years for you too?
A little bit longer.
Right.
Scott Hensley, Piedmont Properties, CORFAC International. Market is Charlotte, North Carolina. Area of expertise is industrial, heavy emphasis on sales, although we do a fair amount of leasing. I'd like to be known as a guy who treats every client as if they are my most important client and it's the biggest deal I'm currently working on. The message is don't accept an assignment if you cannot give 110% effort. Be conscious of your reputation because that's the most important thing you have. And 26 years of experience.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's go down to Cole. Unmute, Cole.
Technology. Cole Sweet, TRI Commercial, CORFAC International. I work in the Sacramento market. We have 2 offices in the region. I'm also the brokerage manager for the region. I specialize in office, flex, and investment. I'm part of a 7-man team. We have 3 senior brokers, 2 junior brokers, and 2 full-time support staff on our team. How would I like to be remembered? I like to be known as the guy that either saves you money or better yet, makes you money. So I tell our younger guys, you know, we're really not salespeople. Our job is to help people out in the market. So that's my pitch.
How many years in the business?
Oh, gosh. So about 22 years. I started at Colliers in Silicon Valley in the late 90s.
Very cool. Joe.
Joe Santillario, Bradford Commercial Real Estate Services. I've been doing this for about 12 years. I'm a little bit behind Hayim, where I started in 08, 09, so I got to enjoy that recession as well. But I focus on tenant rep in North Dallas or North Texas. And again, I just like to be known as the guy that helps industrial users who have a leasehold interest and try to mitigate their leasehold or real estate overhead costs.
Tyler?
Tyler Olema with the Claiborne Company in Los Angeles. I've been in the business for about 8 years, started in, I guess, 2012. So I've been riding the wave up this entire time. I'm interested to see the next downturn in the market. My expertise is in industrial sales and leasing, and you can remember me as the guy to call if you have anything you need in Southern California with regard to industrial real estate.
All right, very good. Thank you, everyone, for that. The background and the context is important for what we are going to be talking about. So we have a range of experience today from 2 years in the business to 26 years in the business. We're covering the product types: office, industrial, flex, multifamily, investment sales, leasing, and sales. So that's the breadth of answers that we're going to be giving for these specific questions. And then again, I want to encourage everyone, if you think of questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box and really get the most out of the session this morning. Don't be afraid to ask your question. So let's go right into the panel discussion. We're going to kick off, what sources of new business are you seeing currently? Very important topic. So let me go ahead and ask either Joe or Brody or Gabe. Who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in. The strategic alliances actually came out of the CORFAC webinar in June with Greta, and I'm honestly have been a bottom 5 networker throughout my career, and that kind of opened my eyes. And since July, I've been working to build up, 15 to 20 of them, trying to work up to 50, and it's just another silo of deals that I'm laying on top of cold calling, where it's a little bit more passive, but it's definitely a long-term play where I hope, you ask the users that you're targeting, hey, how can I help you first? And instead of, hey, when is your lease up? And it's a little bit more of a soft selling way. And I've really felt some traction really after only doing it for 3 months. So,
Joe, let me slow that down for a second. For anybody who doesn't know, there was a CORFAC webinar. The guest speaker was Greta Schultz, who is a sales process authority. One of the concepts she introduces is called strategic alliances. You have there on the slide, the sort of tagline is trading deals for relationships. So peel it back a bit. What is a strategic alliance? How do you approach that?
So you're targeting vendors who are targeting the same users or clients you're targeting. So a forklift guy, a office furniture guy, a roofing guy. And basically you're saying we're a little ahead on the deals compared to these vendors, as we will close our deal. And that's when their deal process starts, or they're 50%. So it's basically saying, I understand that, usually when you hop into a deal, they usually have a broker or they picked a building. So I'm going to trade these deals I'm doing this year, but I want your top 3 to 5 clients, and I want in if they don't have a brokered relationship over the next 3 to 5 years. So it's a soft way in to lean on their network, someone who's been doing it as long as 12 to 15 years. So they have a lot of good relationships. So it's just a way of soft selling and to get yourself in the door in another way and lean on someone else who's very professional, able to do their job.
So right there, one of the questions we asked in advance, what are the challenges you're having, and how do you get to a decision maker if they're not there, if they're not in their office physically? Here's a very practical idea this morning of how you do that. Every building owner should also have an insurance broker who's insuring the building. That's an example of strategic alliance that you can be creating. If you can't get to the building owner, get to the insurance brokers that or you've referred into, and ask them for relationships. Thanks for that, Joe. Brody, how about you? Sources of new business.
Yeah, that was great, Joe. Along the same lines as soft selling, one of the things that I focus on is, being a resource for clients and building relationships outside of just cold calling people and asking when their lease is up. One of the ways that I've gone about this is actually networking and contacting local trade associations that work with various businesses. One of the ones would be, in my market is the Oregon Manufacturers Extension Program. And they work hand in hand with manufacturers all across the area to help analyze anything from their inventory needs to helping them with their books, and then ultimately real estate. And so what I've worked to do is become the real estate resource for OMEP in this case. And what that does is that gets me direct access to these business owners to be the go-to guy for real estate. So whether it's just a generic question, or if they're looking to increase their amount of space, decrease, sell, buy, whatever it may be, they see me as a reliable resource because I'm a part of that bigger network. Beyond that, it gives me opportunities to attend the events throughout the year. And really, once again, the key part of that is just being a resource, not a salesman. And so I know every market has different opportunities. Office guys can be a part of local entrepreneur clubs, entrepreneur networks. There's a variety of them in each market, and I really encourage everybody to look into those. Reach out to the heads of these networks and present a good case as to how you could bring value to the members and businesses within their networks.
Thank you, Brody. How about you, Gabriel?
Me personally, since I'm on the investment side, I've been talking directly to owners that I've previously worked with in the past and other owners, not really asking if they want to buy or sell, but just kind of seeing how things are going with a particular building and just giving them a new perspective on what they kind of do with their spaces. A good amount of buildings I work on are mixed use with retail on the ground floor. Tell them about San Francisco has a good amount of ghost kitchen. Pretty much it's for kitchens where Uber Eats and different food establishments just cook out of a kitchen but don't have actual walk-up space, and just tell them about different ideas and prospects that they could kind of fill up these vacant spaces that we're kind of getting down here in the Bay Area. And also talking to these owners and seeing who their loan contacts are, talking to loan agents, getting in contact with wealth managers and things like that to get in front of the right, correct people to be able to make decisions on different properties here in the Bay Area.
So not just calling to say, hey, let me sell your property, calling to say, I want to inform you on some trends that may or may not be meaningful to you. Most likely they may be meaningful, and I'm just here to add value and be a trusted partner and resource.
Exactly. Just trying to be more like an advisor to them instead of just like a sales agent, kind of just seeing ways to kind of fix around their whole type of investments in their business in total.
You know, it's interesting. When I introduced myself, I said I pivoted into a career in commercial real estate sales. And the theme that's coming out of this is, don't be the salesperson, be the trusted advisor and the trusted resource. Cole, let's shift over to you and talk about prospecting.
Mm-hmm.
Seasoned broker like you, what are you doing right now that's meaningful in the area of prospecting?
I'm really focusing, especially with our younger brokers that we're training every day, going to old school tactics for cold calling. A lot of our competitors are shut down right now. The CVs, the JLLs of the world, Cushmans, they're not out making calls. They're working from home. So I'm telling them, hey, now's the time to be working extra hard for next year. We're not sure what next year holds at this point. Target a submarket, strip the buildings, send a follow-up flyer to those new contacts. If you're targeting a tenant, pitch a building for sale in the area, but don't include the price of the building. Mention recent comps, but don't provide the address of the building. If you're chasing landlords, send a landlord a letter. How is your building going to be impacted by the current and future market? Mention recent comps in the market by address, but don't provide the price. Include phrases like, I thought you may find this of interest, or are you familiar with our team? But always include, in my opinion, or to the best of my knowledge as a disclaimer when you're sending these mailers out. What we're doing here at TRI in the Sacramento region, we started a cold calling campaign called the TRI 1000, and it is inputting 20 new contacts into your database a week. If you do this for a full year, you'll have a new farm of 1,000 contacts in your database. So that's something we started pushing at the beginning of the year. Your general purpose of cold calling is to establish a relationship with the person. It's not immediate gratification. It's a 5-year plan. And you need to commit to keep them updated on market conditions. And that, we also push for quarterly letters to people in your contact database. So the end goal is to establish yourself as a market leader. Yet you need to assure them that you know the market better than anybody else. Nobody does it better than you or your team, and that you want their business. Executives pretend to know everything, but they don't. We're out there doing the business every day. They're out there focused on what they do. You put their minds at ease by assuring them that your team is gathering all the necessary market information to keep them updated in this changing market. So it's pretty straightforward, but I know that our competitors aren't making those calls right now. So that's something that we're really focusing on.
So a lot of what you said strikes me as just a return to fundamentals for you and a focus on fundamentals for the young guys and gals on your team. The first thing I heard was having the right frame of mind. If I'm cold calling today, it's not because there'll be a listing at the other end of that call. It's really to start the journey, establishing myself as the market leader in that particular area of focus. So having the right frame of mind. I might impose on you, Cole.
What's that?
You just read to us. Can you kind of put that together into a deliverable PDF that we can all march to the Cole playbook? That was really fantastic.
No, most of our decision makers and company owners are on Facebook, and I've talked you know, we go back and forth. The younger guys in our office, they're not on Facebook. They may be in LinkedIn these days, but they're not on Facebook. So picking up that phone and calling them, I think, is still the best way to establish a relationship, honestly.
Awesome. Joe, do you want to put an exclamation mark on prospecting?
Yeah, there'll be a little overlap, but we have overhauled our CRM. I have a little bit more of an organized brain, so I tend to lean towards the clunkier ones, where I know stuff isn't going to slip through. Our company is flipped to Pipe Drive, which is a little sexier, a little leaner, but it's just when you get above 100 contacts, it's just you can't see where things are flying. So you really need to have a good CRM. You need to make the calls. When I first started in the business, I think the stat was when I tracked it, it took 500 cold calls to make a deal in 08, 09. And now before the recession, it's probably a 75 to 100. So and that's kind of what you got to have the mentality. It's a funnel. You need to put in the calls and then everything comes down where maybe you talk to 20 to 30% of it. Maybe 10% of those are deals, and then hopefully you make 1 or 2 of them. So you need to constantly do it. And if you get real busy working deals and don't cold call, you're going to see that drop in 6 months. So you just got to every day in and out, make your calls every week, or you're not going to see any consistency.
It's like brushing your teeth. You got to do it every day.
Yeah.
Scott,
Absolutely.
Let's shift over to you and talk about what you're seeing around technology.
Actually, I'll tag on to what Joe said. I would say whether it's pre-COVID, current COVID, or post-COVID, the number one technology has to be a CRM. And it's a personal preference. I don't care what it is. It's whatever works for you. We haven't
How about
added,
Excel or Outlook? Do you believe in that?
if it works for you, then that's great. I think you probably need something more robust. For instance, we use Apto, which is on the Salesforce backbone. It's certainly more than we would ever touch on. We kind of use the basics, but I would just say whatever works for you. We kind of have an adage that it's not who you know, it's when you know them. Also, some people say luck is important. Luck is really nothing more than being in the right place at the right time. And by continuing to work and put yourself and touch these prospects or clients or whatever, you've increased your chance of being in the right place at the right time when they actually have a need and remember you. Because that's the important thing. They're, most of these clients, even good clients of mine, they're being called on by a half a dozen brokers. So it's a matter of putting yourself in the right place at the right time. Technology, I'll give you one other one that I would tell you guys to look into. If you use Outlook, there's a add-on called Quick File for Outlook. And what it does is what I used to always do, because I've been in a couple of lawsuits, unfortunately, and when you go through a deposition, you're trying to go back and recreate everything you've said, done, all your communication. What Quick File allows you to do is it basically, instead of having to carbon copy or blind carbon copy yourself and then move it into a folder, maybe an Outlook, it automatically pushes those emails, and it's got an AI function that it basically learns as it goes, and it'll automatically do that. So that's my technology tip for the day.
And to piggyback off that, I go by the rule of inbox zero, where I keep my inbox as my to-do list along with CRM. If there's an email that relates to a deal, I move it to that deal file. If I've done it, if I haven't done it, I keep it in my inbox. It is so important to stay organized, or you're just going to be choking on, when you get busy, you're just going to be choking on all the activities. So you really got to stay organized in this business so you can juggle more balls.
Hi, and one more comment, only because this is kind of geared towards the next gen who are younger people, have better memories than I do. Don't fall into that trap of you're like, hey, I'll remember to call that person. That'll work for 6 months. It'll work for a year. It might work for 2 years. You will get to a point where, one, your memory's not as good, and two, you will have too many prospects, clients to do that. So you got to have a system, whatever that system is, that reminds you when you need to touch base.
I'm going to go to Cole after this, but I just want to touch on that. It's just so important as you're starting out. If you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, and if you're doing it right, you are not going to get less busy. You are only going to get more busy. So having the right tools and systems and foundation set is hypercritical. Cole, talk to us about technology that you find meaningful.
Yeah, I'm kind of an old school guy again, as you can tell. We recently switched our platform or our CRM from, we tried Apto, Salesforce, we went to Zoho. It's a very basic platform that we can share between all of our members. And it's a dumbed down version of, I think, what Salesforce would be. So, the important things are setting quarterly reminders to call people back, like Scott was saying. But you have to put that information into the CRM. That's the biggest thing. You can cold call, you can go get 20 cards. The work is putting those cards, that information into the system. As far as what we're doing tech-wise right now, like I mentioned before, most of our people we deal with, or the owners of these buildings, aren't on Facebook yet. They don't have time for it. It's not their era. They're usually older people. So I'm constantly on the phone with developers I know that are developing nationally, locally, talking to CPAs. We get a lot of leads from CPAs locally here in the region that we work with, developers in general, smaller developers, larger developers. They give us leads for projects they might want to go after, or just market updates, and vice versa. Real estate attorneys, another great resource that we use. Always talking to those guys, very good friends of ours, going to lunch with them, functions, that kind of stuff. Lenders, always, we have probably two to three lunches a week with lenders, or coffee in the morning, just to keep our pulse of the market with what's going on, who's lending, who's not lending. Executive networks, CFO, CEO groups. Historically, we've gotten a lot of leads where, you get into really good work for one CFO, he's got 10 other buddies that he'll refer you to. So again, it's we like to deal with the people with the money, and I think a lot of people with the money still are kind of old school. So that's kind of what we target at this point,
Thanks, Cole. I'll say one more. Sorry about that. I'll say one more piece on technology, and then we'll get into marketing. If you've not yet, my background won't let me show this to you, but CORFAC just launched its new app. Go to the App Store and get the CORFAC app. It's a pretty sweet piece of technology. I downloaded it about 9 o'clock. A couple weeks later, I got a text from a friend of mine that has a moving company locally. And they said, hey, do you know anybody in Washington State? I said, where specifically? They gave me the city. I went on the app. I found our affiliate partner up there, and boom, I made a connection right there using the CORFAC app. I didn't have to wait till the next day. Maybe I would have forgotten Scott, because we tend to do that if we don't capture things, but it was great use of technology to make the connection right away and send out a CORFAC referral. So we've really sprinkled around the edges of marketing, but let's go a little deeper. Let's go to Brody first. Talk to us about what you're doing right now, what you're seeing that's working, and if there's anything that's not working, talk about that too.
Yeah, I think, it's trying all different kinds of methods, using traditional methods, whether it's personalized letters you're sending out, email campaigns, things on social media. I would say the two main things that I focus on would be email marketing. So sending out quarterly news reports, new listings, things that are happening in the market. One of the reasons I really like using email, and I personally use MailChimp to be able to send those out, is that you can actually see the back end analytics of who's looked at them, who's clicked into them, how many times they viewed them. And from my perspective, is that allows me to prioritize who I'm following up with and communicating with. We only have so many hours in a day, and we're trying to do so many things at once and prospect like absolute machines, and being more effective and focusing on people in which your message or opportunities are going to resonate better. I think that's a good use of time. I also really like using LinkedIn, because it's a great way to be able to network with people, put out sort of, any articles or happenings in the market. One thing I really liked about LinkedIn, and there's actually a relevant case that happened in our recent market. One of the brokers in our office, his name's Elliot, shared a post about some things happening in Portland, and that actually got picked up by all these different business owners in the area and brokers from across the country and developers, and they shared it, and it spread to their network. And so all of a sudden, by having one effective post on LinkedIn, you get this exponential promotion and marketing factor by doing that. And that's easy. That's a simple thing you can do to get a lot of reach.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing that. Gabriel, let's shift over to you. What marketing is working for you, and is there anything that maybe is not working anymore?
Well, just to add to Brody's point with LinkedIn, I do a similar thing as far as posting different things on LinkedIn and sharing other agents' information as well. Just a simple like will actually go to your timeline as well. So it's pretty good to, especially agents in your office, to be able to like whatever they post. Also, too, one thing that Ed Deborah, our president here in TRI, has told us is just to send a simple, short message, DM to different owners and investors to kind of just say more passively, you know, how things are going on during this market. Just kind of more of a soft kind of contact instead of going directly right into the sales pitch and things like that. As far as something that's not really working, I would say more of a topic of contact as far as asking for the sale right away. I think right now, at least for me on the investment side, you want to be a little bit more open and show character first to show who you are. And that will kind of encourage different investors and owners to kind of work with you more instead of being more of the salesperson side. You want to be a human being and be able to share the different things about yourself to these different investors. And that's just something personal that I think is work a little bit better versus not working.
Awesome. Cole and Joe, you've got some examples to share. We'll start with Cole, but I just want to put an emphasis as we transition over to share what he has. It's important to understand what is marketing and what is sales. Joe, you said it earlier. There are activities that you do that fill your funnel. Those are marketing activities. As Scott, you said it, you know, it's not who you know, it's when you know them. When you're talking to them at that moment in time that they need your services, that is sales. So difference between marketing and sales, it's been useful for me in my career to frame it that way. So Cole, talk about what is this lovely piece of marketing collateral and how do you use it effectively?
This is our short form BOV for our team. This was a small listing, but it was a big a nonprofit here in town that we wanted to win the business with. So basically it's a 17-page, we call it our short form BOV. And if you're cold calling with a letter saying, hey, we can give you a broker opinion about what your building is worth, that kind of stuff. These are pretty quick to put together. 17 pages, but realistically, you update about 8 pages every time. And 2 of those pages contain pertinent information to that specific building. It's the executive summary and the marketing plan, which includes your recommendations on the building price, that kind of stuff. I can go through, you know, real quick what each page is, but the remaining pages that you have in there are pretty basic. You have your team information, you have your aerials, your maps, that kind of stuff. So it's all very straightforward. It's all canned ahead of time. And, you know, you swap out the executive summary, you have a floor plan page, an aerial of the projects, demographics page, team information, team history, kind of the work you've done, expanded short resumes, our team advantage, team platform, how we operate, team focus and services provided, marketing plan, listing execution to building, sale, or lease, 3 phases outlining what we do after we get that listing signed, general information on TRI and CORFAC International, notable client assignments, and then we sandwich it with pictures of the building at the front and the back. So it's straightforward. It looks good. You know, you're updating, you know, let's say, again, 8 pages out of the 17, but you're really only putting new information into 2 of those pages. So I think it's effective. It looks good, and it's pretty easy and quick to put together.
Why is it important to have a short form BOV instead of
smaller listings? You know, if we're going after a large portfolio listing or a large multi-tenant building, then we'll do something even more elaborate than this. You know, a building 10,000 square feet and under, let's say, they need a turnaround within a couple days. We just go here, swap some pages out, here you go. We want to beat everybody else. You know, this was a small listing. It was California Waterfowl Association, but Colliers had they know a lot of people in the state. They're well known. Colliers had the representation. We wanted to beat them. So I know Colliers didn't do this for them. We put this together in a couple of days, and we got the assignment. That's one example, but we do these all the time.
So again, another example of being ready, being prepared,
yes.
Just like a Boy Scout, just like what Scott said earlier, luck is about being prepared. So doing the work up front to build the template, to be able to respond quickly to clients.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Joe, What are you guys doing down at Bradford?
Absolutely. So kind of going off these bullet points, it definitely has been a lot softer touching, not as much in-person cold calling, where I'd probably do about 25 a week, and now it's down to 0. I've shifted a lot of things over to email and LinkedIn, where I've used LinkedIn as kind of a resume, kind of social media, and a little bit of research, where that will be my first touch. Then I'll work it up to email, and then I'll work it up to phone call. It's always good to send a personalized letter after you talk to someone, especially if they're a generation ahead of you, because it shows the effort, and you're willing to put the effort into this. Maybe you're willing to put a little bit more effort into their company. So on the fourth bullet, email marketing and listings, thinking about it on the tenant side, if you do a deal in somewhere that is not typically your sub-market, or you're a little newer and you haven't canvassed the market, you need to cold call, the top 100, 150 tenants around that market. My biggest deal was from when I did a deal in 2016 in North Dallas. I cold called the 100 tenants right around it, and this was in 2016, and we just closed that deal this year from someone who I picked up from that effort. So you need to create relevance. I just did a deal in this market. I just helped this person get 6 months free, and it's only been 4 months free and past. So show your value through that. Create one of these. Get with your marketing campaign. Your marketing admin, and create a drip flyer like this with a testimonial, and send this out to users, and just show your value.
What you just said there, you started something, an activity you did in 2014, was it, or 16?
Yeah, we closed the deal in 16, and then I cold call 100 tenants around that. Yep. One of the tenants I cold call on was a deal we closed in 2020.
So something you did 4 years ago was very meaningful during these pandemic times. That's just, again, a way to keep the right frame for this business.
Yes.
Awesome. Anything else on marketing? If not, we can shift over to some professional development advice. Okay, so here's a question. Is it a good time to pursue an industry designation or expand your skill set? Scott, you're the most tenured broker here. You're both a CCIM and an SIOR. Talk to us about this question.
That was a nice way to call me old, Hayim. I appreciate it. The short answer is it's always a good time to pursue a designation. Kind of the example I use is, we've got clients that are making decisions every day whether or not they hire us or someone else. Think about if they're looking to hire an accountant, and they've interviewed people, and there's an accountant that has a CPA, and then there's an accountant that has an accounting degree. They're going to charge them this, let's just say, they're going to charge them the same amount hourly. Who are they more likely to go with? They're going to go with the CPA. The other thing I would say is, I think there's more of our prospects and clients out there, especially on the professional side, that understand what those designations are. In a lot of ways, it's table stakes. I know that we're kind of running low on time, but I'll try to make a quick example. When I first got into business, I was calling a warehouser based out of Seattle. Director of real estate, I could always get on the phone. Always took my call, great conversations, tried to do some business, never could. Fast forward 4 or 5 years after that, I was on to another broker friend of mine, and I said, I tried to get in a warehouse here. He goes, Scott, you would have never gotten in. You would have never done business with that guy, Rick. I said, why? He goes, he will only do business with somebody who has their SIR designation. He views it as, if you're in this business and you haven't taken your craft seriously enough to get that designation, then why am I going to hire you? So that's why I say, I think sometimes you may be, first of all, your competitors are using it against you if you don't have a designation. I think sometimes there are prospects out there that look at that as, you should at least have that as a bare minimum. That's my speech and my advertisement for CCIM and SLR.
So it's always a good time. Now is especially a good time. Brody, give us the other side of that spectrum. 2 years in the business, how do you think about this question?
Yeah, I agree. I'm very fortunate to be in a company that has, the most SIORs in the area. And I think for us, it's one of those things that it's kind of an expectancy that, you're going to pursue that. And it's kind of, you set it as a goal. But, you know, I've had conversations with local business owners, and like Scott said, people are very privy to the understanding of what that means and that designation and achievement. And so from a younger guy, I think it's, you know, beyond just getting that designation, I think it's part of goal setting, and it's part of professional development. And so from, I would say, the younger perspective or emerging perspective, it's definitely something that I want to prioritize.
I'll add one more thing, and then we'll transition over to career advice, having lived through some cycles. You know, we joined CORFAC 2015. I was pleased to find out that CORFAC has partnerships with CCIM and SIOR. So if you're thinking about getting your CCIM designation, go to corfac.com/member/marketing-alliances. Just go to corfac.com member and look for the benefits. So you get a discount on the CCIM courses, I believe as well with SIOR, but here's a dirty little secret that I'm going to tell you that we've benefited from. So keep an eye out for this. CORFAC has, SIOR has fall and spring conferences similar to CORFAC. They extend, I believe it's 2 memberships, 2 conference attendee free registration to CORFAC members. So here's what happens, and here's how you take advantage of it. Jonathan will send an email out to the entire membership, and it'll say, it's the fall SIOR conference. We've been extended 2 free registrations, 1 for an office broker, 1 for an industrial broker. If you'd like to take advantage, reply, first come, first serve. Make sure you are looking for that, and make sure you reply, and make sure you are going to those conferences when they come back. I could share another experience from an SIOR conference, sitting in a panel similar to this. I was given an idea. 3 years later, because I exercised that idea, I made a $107,000 fee off of that direct link to a conference that I attended. So let's shift over. We got a couple more questions, and then we want to leave as much time for Q&A as we can. So for those that have been through some cycles, what is the best advice do you have for the next gens on the call that this may be their first cycle? Let me call on Cole. You can start us off. Joe, you're on deck.
You know, when I started in Silicon Valley, back before Silicon Valley really took off, everybody in the office had old cars. Market took off. They bought newer cars, some not new, brand new, but bought newer cars, and they always paid them off. And they always told me, keep your overhead low, pay off your car, pay off your house. And I don't think that advice ever changed. So get out there, make those calls right now, because our competitors aren't. How do you make money? Negotiate lease terminations with tenants in the market right now, and save landlords a headache of getting that termination done with that tenant before that tenant declares bankruptcy. So, you know, keep your overhead low. Markets will always go up and down, and always prepare. You know, the 6 P's: prior planning prevents piss poor performance. That's something that always stuck with me from the beginning, from my senior mentor in the business. Prepare for everything, and just keep your overhead low.
Joe, you're up. Scott, you're on deck.
To harp on Cole stuff, it's definitely good to keep your overhead as low as possible. It's just a waiting game for younger brokers. You need to live at home if you can, or get a night job. I know COVID, the gig economy has been a little strained, but you're just waiting out your overhead until you hit your big break or your first big deal. But a way to really fuel your deal flow or fuel your acceleration is getting a mentor or two. There are people out there that want to help you, and they've stepped on landmines that that could help you avoid stepping on. So you really want to team up with someone older, someone that's been through a few cycles and kind of knows the way. I would also lastly say, if you're banging your head against a wall for someone, I guess a contact that has a corporate office out of your main city, just call the CORFAC broker in that city and see if they want to team up and tackle that assignment together. There's your mentor right there. There's someone that can help you win that deal. Team up. We're all a big team here, and we all want to make money, and everyone's fair. So I would say just be as involved as you can. Have as many pillars as you can. One's CORFAC, one is cold calling, one's LinkedIn, one's CRM, and it's just, you want as many motors going as possible to make you go as fast as possible.
Scott, I want to slide in here because I want to just make a point to dovetail off of what Joe just said, and then we'll have you round us out with this question. If you're sitting here and you're listening to this, and there are good ideas that you're writing down like I am, but then you're thinking, wow, I'm too new. I don't really have a need for a short form BOV because I'm not getting those opportunities to present it. Or, yeah, I could spend 3 years on LinkedIn. I just don't have enough connections to really make it meaningful. Connect that with what Joe just said. There are brokers in your office that might either be too busy or just don't have the extra energy to do those things. You use your energy and your time and you do them to propel those senior brokers in your office. When I was a young broker, we had a senior SIOR who bought a building, got caught in the recession and was stuck with it basically. My partner and I said, hey, we want to help you sell this building. It's personal for him. It's not just a client that we're helping. What can we do? We took brochures, we canvassed. That was so moving to him that we wanted to help. It came back in spades when there was an opportunity that he either didn't want to handle or needed some extra muscle on. You can spend your time and energy now with other brokers in your office and help them, and it'll come back in spades. Yep. Scott, what advice do you have?
Yeah, this is personal and professional. You have to find a way to stay positive. This is a difficult business in good times. It is even more challenging in these times. Surround yourself with positive people. I would say that's both professionally and socially. Jim Rohn famously says, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So be selective in who you spend your time with.
You know, that interesting you bring up the Jim Rohn quote, because you are the average of the people you spend most of your time with. Flip the question around. The 5 people that you care most about, you are either increasing their average or decreasing the average based on how you are. So if you really love them, do more for yourself to make them better. All right, let's go around the horn. Everyone give one example of how you have effectively leveraged or have benefited from the CORFAC network. And then we'll go into Q&A. So everyone on the call, go ahead and find that chat box, load in your questions for the Q&A for the panelists to answer. Who wants to kick us off? One example or one direct benefit from your affiliation with CORFAC?
I'll kick it off. It's Gabe from San Francisco. I spoke and met Phil out of Phoenix a couple of times in different CORFAC meetings. He helped me out a good amount. He spoke last week about having different websites attracting to one main website. And that is something I've looked into personally. I have my own personal website, but having just different taglines that will funnel to the main website, whatever your company website would be, is a good idea. And also just referring different deals where cap rates a little bit better in Phoenix than they are in San Francisco and Oakland. So using that thing. And then one thing to add from the last, the message kind of today has been a good amount of talk about cold calling. I would definitely say have a partner to cold call with. It's a lot easier to get through those names. When I was cold calling from the beginning, I didn't know how to cold call. I didn't have a script. Well, I had a script, but it's a lot easier to hear other people cold calling around you. So if you're a newer agent, have a partner. I have a personal partner that I cold call with out in Walnut Creek right now. And it just kind of motivates you to kind of keep on getting through those calls and kind of motivate you to continue during this current recession right now.
All right, we'll go to Joe and then Brody after that.
Yeah, to feed off Gabriel's just real quick, I take all our younger brokers out cold calling and just say, hey, just sit in the car for 2 hours and just watch what I do. And you need to go do that with another 10 other brokers and pick up one thing from each of the brokers and then put them together, and there's your cold calling tactic. But with CORFAC, there's a tenant out of Grapevine, which is a submarket in DFW, and they're located in Switzerland. I called Daniel Schindelman to say, hey, do you know anything about that tenant? And he drove up there, he met with them, and and through those efforts, which I would have not been able to get to, we're now working on the renewal, which is coming up, I think March of next year. So it's you got to just leverage this network, team up with your out of market brokers, and see if you can go win some more business. 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Amen to that. Keep it going, guys.
Yeah, I would just say, we did a sublease deal from CORFAC earlier this year. It's a pretty good sized industrial deal, so that was great. And then, a lot of brokers, including myself in this office, network with other CORFAC brokers up in Seattle. There's a lot of crossover business between Seattle and Portland, and I think it's for any younger broker. It is an effective call to go out there and call a CORFAC member from another office. That is completely worth your time and could pay off in spades down the road. One other thing I was going to say is, we have this mantra in our company that resonates, and it's kind of become a joke, but at the same time, it's something that everybody does, and it's one more call. And so I would always say, when you're out there prospecting or you're making cold calls, right when you think you're getting wrapped up for the day and you're done, just make that one more call. It works. It works.
We'll do Cole and then Scott.
When I was at CB, we went to the conferences. There'd be over 1,000 people there. You get to meet nobody. You're going to hang out with your clique from the city you're from, and then you go home. Maybe listen to a speaker or two. You go to our conferences, you meet everybody. We just did a deal with Frank. He called me, hey, I got a requirement in Silicon Valley, R&D requirement. He's an SIOR. We had an SIOR broker down there. Put those two together, deal got done. I mean, it was that fast. So it took some time, but I knew him, he knew me. How that happened, we met each other. We talked to each other all the time at the conferences and outside of the conferences as well. So I love the network. The content is top notch in my opinion. Something else that Ed Delvacara was talking about trying to do before our region is, hey, let's exchange some brokers. I think some of our industrial guys, office guys, R&D, whatever it is, and put them in touch with brokers in our immediate regions. Let's say California talks to guys in Arizona, Vegas, Portland, maybe Portland in Washington. It's something I think we could do that wouldn't be too hard to even introduce more people to each other that don't get a chance to go to conferences all the time.
I would like to yield my time to Joe Latino. I see his hand raised.
No, I told myself I was going to be quiet today because I
Your time is 30 seconds, Joe. 30 seconds.
So Scott is, as you know, is our chairman of our affiliation and development committee, which I was previously. And Scott has heard a lot of my pitches through the years as we were building on this and adding firms. But I just 30 seconds about a couple of stories that I used to tell during these affiliation developments. You got to keep in mind, my market is Wilmington, Delaware. I'm in a very tertiary market. I'm basically a suburb of Philadelphia. We stand alone, but we're not necessarily the beneficiaries of a lot of referrals. We do get quite a few, good amount, but not as much as maybe some of the major metropolitan cities. But my benefits of CORFAC are deeper. And a couple of quick stories that I'll shorten. I leveraged the CORFAC network and my affiliation with all of you on a land deal. It was a company that bought up a bunch of notes in my market. They were out of town. They were actually in Charleston, South Carolina. They bought up a bunch of really valuable land in my marketplace. I got a seat at the table with 5 other brokers they were interviewing. I made the final cut with CBRE. And actually what ended up happening is I won half of the business and CBRE won half of the business. But I went in as CORFAC International, not as Patterson Woods Commercial Properties. I don't believe I would have even gotten that far if I was just a local independent broker. So I leveraged CORFAC and really it helped me. I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of money I've made off that account. We're still selling that land and it's been very lucrative for us. A second one is a really brief story where I was trying to get a CO for a restaurant deal that I had done, and the county came in and basically said, you don't have enough parking. So I looked across the street, and there was a piece of dirt sitting there with a railroad track going right through the middle of it. So I went in my trusted parcel search, and I found out that CRX owned that land. So I said, CRX, based out of Jacksonville, Florida. So I called up our Jacksonville, Florida affiliate, Jeff Graham at the time. I said, Jeff, do you know anybody at CRX? Because I have lunch with that lady once a week. It's fantastic. Gave me her name, gave me her phone number. We connected by email. In 48 hours, I had a lease for that piece of dirt, and I got my CO for that restaurant. Just 2 quick stories, and I'm out.
Scott, would you call that dumb luck, what Joe just shared?
I call that Joe. So talking about examples of CORFAC, this is a relationship business. We're in a relationship business, and this CORFAC is about relationships. Quick story. Dan Dokovic may be on the call out of St. Louis, but he's one of our newest affiliates through my affiliation, chairman affiliation committee. We went to St. Louis to talk to them, their new affiliate. I developed a relationship with Dan. I had an off-market deal here in Charlotte that I could take it to half, whoever I wanted to. Dan has been calling and we've been talking about him getting in Charlotte. So I went to him first. I said, hey, Dan, I got this off-market deal. Long story short, we had the letter. It's an $8 million deal. We're at letter of intent stage. We're going to contract. And I think we have a really good chance of making that deal. And that is because Dan and I connected. We had lunch together. We spent some time together, and there's a relationship. And then again, I could go to 20 different people, but I chose to go to him because I felt like at the end of the day, he has the best chance of getting it done. I'm going to get him in the market. We're going to do more business together. So it was a relationship. I would tell you, for the young guys, make an attempt to go to these CORFAC conferences, develop the relationships that I've been able to do, that Alan, Joel, the rest of us have been able to do. And you will, it may not be immediate, but you will reap the rewards.
Terrific. So we've got a few minutes for Q&A. Tyler, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Hayim. And thank you all the panelists. That was great. I got a lot of good information out of that. And I think everyone else did too. We got basically 1.5 questions. So if you have any questions, send them over. But I'll start with just a quick one. Andrea Jones asked, I think this is for Cole, your presentation, Cole, that you shared, was that on InDesign?
That's a good question. We have a full-time marketing guy that helps us with this. I believe it was, but I can confirm.
Okay. And then from Robert Porter, he basically asked for inbound requirements that come through to the office. Maybe they're smaller requirements. How do you guys typically handle that? And or as a next gen, how would you suggest handling those smaller requirements? Is it worth spending a ton of time on it? Do you kind of, give it a quick conversation and then say, I'll follow up later? What's the best way to handle those?
Or go ahead,
I just want to take a stab at that because Scott said something earlier that's meaningful. First of all, if your belief is it's not worth my time, better just to say no. Don't take on something that you're going to do an half-ass job at. The other side of the coin is, I don't know where you are in your career, but assuming that you're a new broker, you probably have extra time and energy. You shouldn't yet be asking yourself, is this worth my time? Because it's not just the dollars on the deal that is a factor in the overall reward of the deal. Doing a good job for a small client could lead to a bigger client in them later on. It could lead to them saying, wow, they did such a good job on this small deal. I would love to refer my brother to them who has an enormous deal. You're signaling to all the brokers in the market, if it's specifically coming from a broker in the market, you're signaling to that senior broker, I'm not just capable of doing the small deals, which means I'm capable of doing the big deals. I will do it with enthusiasm and I will make you look good. All of those factors go into what we typically measure with, which is just a commission. So I'd say think about it that way. Luke in our office, who I think is on the call, was asked by a senior broker, can you do a BOV for this major client that I have? It's not even a BOV to sell the building. It's a BOV to confirm an internal report for them to confirm their lease rate. Luke's going to spend an enormous amount of time on this. He's not going to get much money. Thankfully, it's a paid BOV, which is also uncommon. However, he's going to do a fantastic job. He's going to impress the senior broker, who will then impress their client. And I guarantee you that will give more opportunities to Luke down the road.
Yeah, I want to touch on that too. As a younger guy, you see a lot of those requirements come in, and it can be a rabbit hole. But I think the important thing is, building as many relationships, and like you said, is showing that you're going to be fully invested in them and help them out, and that goes a long ways and leads towards referrals, which are the best. And it's just a really short story, but we always joke around with that they're we're very close to the Beaverton here in Portland, and there's a little company called the Nike that started in about a 1,500 square foot incubator space in a small business park outside in Beaverton. So you never know.
Someone was too busy to work on that deal.
Yeah.
Question just came in. Do you find outreach on LinkedIn to be effective, not simply posting, but sending messages to potential clients?
I've been much softer in my messages, and I've gotten just as many responses on LinkedIn than as email, which are actually a little bit more aggressive. So I would say it has been more effective, especially because I can't cold call in person anymore, or for the near future.
I would tag on with as far as LinkedIn as well. It's a lot easier to be able to send out information and articles and to be able to touch your different clients. So you could be waiting in line for food and like a post. You could be on public transit and share a quick sentence or two about an article. So it's a lot easier than drafting up the email, making sure your signature's on the bottom instead of having sent from iPhone. So I think it's a lot easier to kind of outreach by pressing a reshare button.
And it comes with your resume, basically.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what not to do on LinkedIn. Don't do the auto email crap. I get a dozen of those a week, and that is instant credibility loss. If you are going to use LinkedIn, the messaging feature, do it just as meaningfully as you would an email to somebody. You will get to them, or you have a high probability of getting to them, and they're reading it. Don't F it up.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. And we're getting short on time. I guess just one final question that was coming in. How to get a detailed tenant phone list through CoStar, Google, I guess short of just Googling every business or tenant information. Is there a cool way to get a nice list of contacts?
I think CoStar is like 33% accurate on the tenant side. It's very accurate on the landlord side, at least in DFW. It's a good place to start stacking, but really what I've found is you got to go walk in and find out yourself. You can do the research online and get a lot of them, but I mean, you're going to need to go drive by buildings, write it down, go online, look at their website, and that's how you fill in the information. So it just takes a ton of work up front, and you're just going to need to realize getting the business. That's just what it takes.
I agree, Joe. Something else we use for some mass mailers is Sales Genie. I mean, we can track, medical users by submarkets, and then we'll target mailers that way. How accurate is it? You're probably right. Probably, maybe half.
It could be half, yeah.
Maybe half.
Yeah.
The best way is to, put those shoes on and hit the streets.
Yep. Burn some gas.
Tyler, can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Good. I appreciate you giving me 2 seconds. This is Alan Joel, the president of CORFAC, and this has been a great session. Thank you, Hayim. You did a great job. It's very informative. I'd like to mention one thing that just from my perspective as the president of this organization is clearly the deals are important. And I know that if you're a young broker, you're trying to make your way in this world and trying to make some money and trying to do deals. And that's number one on your list. I will tell you though, in the back of that list, which is very important, and it's going to actually move a lot further ahead as you get older, is the relationships that you establish within this organization go beyond just business relationships. And I can go over many instances, and I mentioned one in the chat room where you start buying real estate with your CORFAC members, and they become friends of yours for life. And these are things that's forget the money. These are people that you want to be with. These are people that you enjoy to be with. And, that over the years, that becomes very valuable. And just to let you know that from my perspective.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate that. And I guess one last thing, Sandy was sent a message that he's got some good ideas on
I have, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have 2 things to say, and I'll try and be brief. There was another network, and 15 years ago and 20 years ago, the #1 outbound referral company was a little company in Saskatchewan. I said, how can there be so many people in Regina, Saskatchewan, population at the time maybe 150,000, that's sending referrals all the way, the Midwest and all over the place. And it really puzzled me because we didn't have those kinds of referrals to send out. Now, we weren't part of that network, but we didn't have them. I found out that the referrals he sent out were people that he didn't control. So we went into Saskatchewan with the Home Depot. We went into Saskatchewan with Dollarama and Staples. He couldn't get a hold of them. He couldn't get their loyalty. But he looked at a bunch of places where Home Depot wasn't or Staples wasn't, and he sent it out to his network people. You should contact them. They're in Saskatchewan now. And he was the #1 outbound referral network in their network. So that's one thing. And the second thing, try to be brief, is when you're looking at property, and you should be taking pictures of every property that you can. If you can get a hold of the management of it, you can control the asset. And if that property sells in 5 years or 10 years, you're going to be the one to sell it. So building management is as important as any other kind of prospecting. And you there to do the renewals and to lease the space, et cetera, that comes up.
Thanks, Andy.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you. We're over our time, so I'll put it back to Hayim and he can close us out.
Thank you, Hayim.
Thank you, Sandy. And thank you to the panelists, Brody, Gabriel, Scott, Cole, Joe, to our esteemed Next Gen Committee Chair, Tyler. Thanks for organizing this. We want to thank Ian with 10X for being the session sponsor. I want to encourage all the participants in this call, reach out, connect on LinkedIn or direct email all of the panelists. Continue to ask the questions that you may have or might have in a week from now. And I would encourage you, if you need an invitation, here it is. Reach out to Tyler, get involved on the Next Gen Committee. That could be the next step to the next big thing for you within CORFAC. Let me just wrap up with a couple of things, housekeeping items, to remind everybody that all of these sessions from the Fall Summit have been recorded and will be available. Don't forget, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central is the final Fall Summit session. The keynote speaker is Curtis Spencer of IMS Worldwide. He'll be discussing emerging trends in industrial and logistics. Parting thought, if you found a good idea this morning, use it. It doesn't care where it came from.
One other thing, Hayim, is that 10X is giving away, I don't know if Ian is still on the call, to all the participants are in a drawing for noise canceling headphones and a backpack with a laptop. Nice prize. So
nice.
All right.
Keep an eye out for that.
Great headphones.
Thanks,
Ian,
everybody.
Go ahead and share what it is.
You know, I don't have the screen share, but it's those big bulky headphones where if you want to make sure no one bothers you in public, then, and a really nice a backpack, but it folds open for a laptop. So it's a nice tech backpack. So I'll let the CORFAC team determine, you know, whose name comes out of the virtual hat. So good luck on that.
Fantastic. Thank you again for being our sponsor. Thank you again to everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.